it starts on Father's Day in June. I'm going to be also on a family vacation. This is a global competition. Oh, what the hell? I'll apply anyway. And I got in. And I have to say, it truly changed my life. Planning with the end result in mind. And I think that's what's great about Lovable is that you can have a vision and then you can use Lovable to collapse that gap between
Yeah.
the vision and the final product.
Christina spent 48 hours building a complete, fully functioning web app. She had login flow, features, member rotation, all of it. But she was missing one key thing, and that is something we're going to talk about in today's episode. Christina joined Lovable's She Builds hackathon and built this web app in 48 hours with hundreds of other women around the world. She said it was a competition, but it actually was everything but a competition. And here's Christina to tell her story.
My name's Christina Moore. I live in Carlsbad, California, which is just north of San Diego. I am a mom of three. I was laid off from my startup role back in February. And since then, I have been kind of diving headfirst into the AI world. I know absolutely nothing about coding. I know nothing about web design. I know nothing about graphic design, user experience, any of it. But I am a really big platform nerd. I love a good tool. I love optimizing workflows for startups specifically. That was kind of
Yeah.
my last
Yeah.
role. And originally I have a finance background.
Okay.
So I'm coming into this AI world and I'm kind of thinking this could be a cool transition for me to
Yeah.
kind of get up to speed with what's happening in the tech world, to give myself a little hobby and tinker and
Yes.
build. And I'm very much a if there's a will, there's a way woman. I love to get my hands dirty. I redid my kitchen cabinets one day and, things like that where I see other people do it and I think to myself, I think I could probably learn how to do this.
Yeah.
And so I'm watching kind of the movement as I'm catching up on all of the activity on LinkedIn and being out of the active job search
Yeah.
for 5 years. And I'm watching this AI gold rush that we're in. And somehow the Lovable feed came up, a Lovable post came up on my feed about a hackathon. And I thought to myself, that's interesting. They say that it could be anybody who
Yeah.
has building experience or doesn't have vibe coding experience. And, it starts on Father's Day in June. I'm going to be also on a family vacation. This is a global competition. Oh, what the hell? I'll apply anyway. And I got in. And I have to say, it truly changed my life. So I ended up doing this 48-hour hackathon sponsored by Lovable. And even more so than the build, I will say the build, even more so than the build itself, is the community that's come out
Yeah.
of it. And the women that I've met and have become connected with have really been incredible, an incredible support network. And I wouldn't have traded this experience for the world.
Yeah. I totally agree that hackathons can be completely transforming in so many ways. Whether you win or not, just participating and pushing yourself for that usually very, very short time limit. You just got to hammer it through. So you got into this hackathon. What did you build in the hackathon?
So I had tinkered a little bit with finance apps, with little kind of skills and prompts that I would have wished I had in my startup life
Yeah.
5 years ago, if I could hit the rewind button. And so I sort of always approached my AI tinkering that way. I had built a couple of sort of more universal audience type of apps. I had built in Lovable once before. But my real passion and what I applied for this hackathon was a book club app. So I started thinking about, I applied for this book club app because I started really thinking about what is the problem with book clubs? I've been a part of many book clubs. They always seem to just unravel after a while. And of course that happens with friendships, but you know, I have groups of women who I know still love books even years later, and I know that they're still reading, and I know that we have information and things to share and community to build around it. And I thought to myself, what really is the problem with book clubs? I feel like from being a host myself, it's been the kind of the administrative burden of hosting all these people, collecting RSVPs, whether it's in your home or at a restaurant or a coffee shop. You know, it's still a lot of wrangling. It's a lot of making sure people know where to park, making sure, you know, everybody's contributing, making sure everybody's got the questions ahead of time. So it's really a lot of kind of logistical work that we have tools to do. They're just all piecemeal and siloed. So often these things operate in like one big chaotic group text, or you know, an Evite over here and a Google Sheet over here. And I thought to myself, why can't I just build this all into one app? So that was my idea that I applied with, and I was accepted.
So when you actually heard that you got accepted, what happened then?
So I had actually seen on LinkedIn first some people I was following announcing they were accepted. And I said, huh, that's interesting. I applied to that, but I don't remember getting an email about it or any sort of notification. So I went digging around in my email, and I saw congratulations, you're in. And I said to myself, oh, that's cool. And I closed it and I said, I'll look at it later. And then I'm looking again at LinkedIn, and people are making a big fuss about it. I mean, they're really, you know, like talking about, oh, I can't wait to build this. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm terrified. I'm so excited. All of the emotions. And so I went back to the email and I said, huh, this is kind of a big deal. And I said, this is kind of a big deal. And I researched a bit more. You know, Lovable is a very small company based out of Stockholm. It's really incredible what they've built and the name they've built for themselves. And this platform is just incredible. So I really, you know, then the wheels started turning in my head. I hopped on with Claude and I said, is this something I can really do? Can you help me? I'm not sure where to start. I have no product experience. What would a real product developer do here?
So was Claude your like a prep partner that kind of helped you to plan the whole thing?
Yes. And it was almost like the stars aligned, because about a week before the hackathon started, the Lovable Claude MCP connection was released. And I didn't know what that meant before this. I did not know what the heck MCP was. Now I joke that MCP stands for murder the copy and paste, because you no longer have to copy and paste a prompt one to the other. So in a simple explanation, it's just that they speak to each other automatically. And so that was a bit of a stroke of luck that happened about a week before. And so, yes, Claude was my primary prep partner. And I did tinker around a bit with different design tools. I made a couple of mood boards, and I wanted to document on my Substack this building in public experience.
Yeah.
So I really kind of started planning with the end result in mind. And I think that's what's great about Lovable is that you can have a vision and then you can use Lovable to collapse that gap between the vision and the final product.
Yeah. How did you use Claude? Was Claude really like, how detailed were you in the chats with Claude on what are you actually going to build? Was it also doing some of the coding or helping you with the code? Or was it more the design and the product questions?
Both. Yes, both. So I started with the design because in my brain I thought, okay, what is the problem with looking at a chaotic Google sheet or a really chaotic group text? It's messy. It's ugly. People are copying and pasting different formatted texts and it's just a complete disaster. I wanted it to really be aesthetically beautiful, first and foremost. I really wanted it to feel like an experience over a utilitarian app.
Yeah.
And so I always started first with the design in mind. I always wanted it to feel like a intimate dinner party with your closest friends, and not in an exclusive way, but in an intimate, real, like meaningful bonding way.
Mm.
And so I always had that as my primary goal. I always had aesthetic, beautiful design top of mind. And from there, I kind of worked backwards. And so I said to Claude, okay, if I want the functionality to work like this, I want the host to log in, do these 3 steps, and then boom, club is ready to go. They can invite their friends. How do I get there? And so Claude really wrote up a roadmap for me of, okay, here's what we need to do. I can actually prep the whole library of prompts that we're going to be sending to Lovable ahead of time. So nothing touched Lovable until that clock started on the day of the hackathon. And everything else was done in Claude, in Canva, in other tools outside of Lovable.
Yeah. I think you mentioned somewhere that Claude even told you to go to sleep at some point.
I am a utmost perfectionist.
Mm-hmm.
And in this mission to make something aesthetically beautiful, that meant minimalist. That meant not having a single stray button or pixel anywhere. That meant it was clean. It was easy to see, easy to use, visible, obvious for people who just want to read their dang books and just want to hang out with their gal pals.
Yeah.
Didn't want it to be in any way a barrier. And so I talked with Claude for a week straight on, what do I need to do? Are you sure about this? Are you really sure about this? Are you really, really, really sure about this? And, I said to Claude, but wait, do I need a contingency plan? Because what if Lovable, reads my prompt incorrectly and puts a button here and I panic and now I have to scrap and start over. What do I do? And Claude said, okay, I will make you a contingency plan. I will make you a risk register. I will do all of these things. And I didn't know what any of those were.
Yeah.
Over and over and over, I iterated with Claude. Claude is such a great partner if you instruct it to give you what you want back and how to communicate with you.
Yeah.
I've always told my Claude to be brutally honest. I don't want you to sugarcoat. I don't want you to fluff. I don't want you to be sycophantic. Am I saying that correctly? I don't want you to be my buddy here. You are my workhorse. And so Claude, several times had to, I would say, okay, great. This plan looks great. 10 minutes later, I would go back and say, but what about this? And finally, Claude said, Christina, it's the middle of the night. I think you can rest. Your plan is great. And even, after maybe the fourth time of this, of building a contingency plan for my contingency plan, Claude had told me, finally, you are at the top 1% of hackathon participants in terms of pre-planning. This plan is solid. You can rest. And I said, okay, fine. After the fourth time Claude told me, go to bed, rest, I said, okay, fine.
So how did you feel? You had all that prep work and Claude saying like, you ready. How did you feel on the moment when the Lovable hackathon and the timer starts and you can actually start building? How was it? Did you actually feel like, okay, I'm prepped and I'm ready and it's going to go smoothly? Or was it like, I have no clue what's going to happen?
I did feel, I would say I felt ready when the clock struck 10:01. I hit go, which was great. I will say that prepping with Claude, probably the most helpful thing for Claude, like I said, in addition to being brutally honest, was that Claude reined me in. I had this vision for a full cycle app. I had a vision for a host side of the app, a member side of the app. They don't see the same thing. Once one meeting is done, the host automatically rotates to the next member. And so that was pretty advanced logic to have to build in all of the host functionality, who's willing to host, flipping it to the next host, and then switching their user status within the app to enable the other state. And so what Claude had done for me was said, you cannot possibly do this in 48 hours. Let's be realistic. What Lovable needs, according to their judging criteria and their submission requirements, is a demo environment. And I said, okay, but I want this, this, and this. And so we had to have an A list and a B list and a very far away wish list. I wanted a mobile app. I wanted, algorithms to match people locally in almost like a Tinder fashion where people could, say, great, you have the same book club interests as me. Let's get together and form a club. I wanted it all. And Claude said, nope, stick to your demo environment. And which is hard when you're very passionate about something and you have a vision and this is your dream. It's really hard to hear, nope, you have to trim it. You've got to leave stuff on the cutting room floor. And so when the clock struck, I said to myself, great, let's go. And my demo environment was built in about 3 hours. And so then out of the 48. And then I said, Claude, what do I do now? Should I pull the things off the cutting room floor? Should I get them? Should I bring some of them back? And Claude told me, Christina, you don't want to do this. It's better to build a fully functional demo app than build a kind of a half-assed version of your dream, right? That looks okay but doesn't function. Rather, stick to the fully built out demo shell that you can use and call it the MVP, right? That's the goal here. And so you should stick to that and build that out. And right now you've got it. You can walk away.
Did you walk away?
No.
So what happened next?
I said, Claude, this is great. The host side of the app was the demo environment, right? So the host really the full host onboarding where the host joined, created preferences for the club saying, okay, great, we like romance novels and fantasy novels. Let's make our club around that. Let's name our club. Let's create a link for me to invite my friends and invite members. And let's start to look at potential dates and book selections for them to vote on. That was it. That was the whole demo shell. I said, Claude, this is great, but I think you're getting an incomplete picture. I really think that the member side of the app is actually more simplistic because the host needs to create all of these criteria and these preferences for the club.
Yeah.
And the member side is really just the voting mechanism. So let's build that. And Claude said, are you sure? Because it's not as simple as just building that. They need to speak to each other. They need to be an ecosystem. The host sets the preferences, but that all flows to the member side, and then vice versa when the club rotates. So I said, okay, well, what am I going to do with 45 hours out of my 48 hours?
Yeah.
I said, Claude, I'm bored. Let's do it. So we rewrote the whole roadmap. We said, okay, let's pull from the cutting room floor the basic member flow and get them to speak to each other, and let's see what we can do. And at one point, Claude said, okay, after an hour or so of rewriting the whole roadmap, Claude said to me, okay, I think we can do the member side within your 45 hours. Let's do it.
Yeah. So how did you piece that together? What was the missing piece to get the host and the guests to talk to each other?
Yes. So, initially the demo environment. So let me back up. Part of the original vision was to, in an effort to make the logistics part of this easier for the host, was to use AI to suggest books for the club based on the preferences, based on, kind of the vibes that it got from the club members, and say, I think you would like these 3 books. And I always wanted the members to be able to kind of override that, if the AI suggested absolutely the wrong version of books, or, whatever happened, or they just weren't interested. I always wanted them to be able to kind of override it. And that was one thing that Claude said, do not do that. It builds in a layer of complexity that I don't think you have the time to do. But what we can do is build in some of these basic AI features. And this is really what I think sets the app apart from other apps that are out there, is it uses AI to help relieve the burden. There have been other apps out there that use AI, almost like there was one that sort of uses it like in a Spotify fashion, that at the end of the year, it said, great, here are some of the books. Maybe you could benefit from reading a couple more thrillers, in your mix, something like that. But not with the intention of taking the burden off of the host for planning purposes. And so part of it was, wherever a host might get stuck, naming the club, for example, I built in an AI tool to suggest a name for your club based on a little, you type in a little prompt. We are a group of 3 moms. We live in San Diego, and, this one is a teacher and this one is a lawyer, and, give me a really funny, cheeky name for the 3 of us. And boom, like the Mama Witches Club, whatever it comes up with. So I thought that was really fun. The other piece of the AI call is the book suggestions. So saying, okay, you said that you like romance and fantasy. Here are 3. Maybe 2 of them are romance and 1 of them is fantasy. So I'm giving you 3 books for you all to vote on as sort of a starting point. I think you would like these. And the other place was for once everybody had settled on a book and voted and there was a successful book, to create a sort of little host package of, okay, here's your list of names. Here's who's coming. Here's who's bringing what. If you want to get fancy, this book is about a lake romance. Let's, do little canoe boats as decor, or, we can maybe have snacks that are somehow, water related, right? So kind of like building in some sort of like Pinterest-ish inspiration for the host in this nice little host package that they could then download as a PDF. That was one of the AI polls there. And then the last place was finding a mutual date. So setting up in a sort of like a doodle way, you know, a member would say, okay, I'm available on Thursdays, but not on Tuesdays. And then another one said either day would work. So then it would suggest days on the next Tuesday, about a month out for everybody to meet. And then they could all vote and say, great, that works.
Yeah. Yeah. How are you managing your data? Because there's a lot of data, the user data, and I guess you got to store all the books that I read. How are you managing that with Lovable?
I honestly don't really know how Lovable is doing it. It's doing it for me. I know it uses Supabase, and I think one of the good things about Lovable is that eventually, if I do need to have bigger database capabilities outside of the Supabase in the Lovable cloud, I can do that by migrating the app entirely off of Lovable. But for now, all of that form data, all of the book data, all lives within Lovable's database.
Yeah, I thought so. And that, I think it's very, very good move for anybody who's non-technical, who doesn't want to learn also database, because that's a whole nother thing to learn. So, and I think Lovable is phenomenal in that, like, app in a box setup that you can really build anything. It's really, really amazing. So let's go back. You are now enhancing the app still in the hackathon. How much did you actually build in those, was it 45 hours that you had left? Like, did you actually transform the app completely still because you had the time, or how far did you get?
Yes. So the hackathon started at about 10 o'clock on a Sunday, which was Father's Day here in the States. And I said to the family, okay, I'm going to go hole up at a coffee shop. And so I spent those initial first 3 hours or so at this coffee shop. And, I cranked away with my 2 monitors and my ergonomic mouse, and I kind of looked probably really silly in this coffee shop for hours on end. But I built in the coffee shop. I actually, part of the prep was to build out a schedule where I made sure I ate. I made sure I slept. I even made sure I just stepped away from the keyboard for 10 minutes to, move my legs, or, a little bit of self-care had to be built in, because I said to myself, okay, this neurotic perfectionist in me, my toxic trait, is going to make me want to pull 2 double all-nighters. What do I do? How do I manage my time? How do I take care of myself? And so we ended up building out this schedule of, okay, here are the different phases. Build this feature out first, and when you've done that, great. That's one chapter we can close, pun intended. And then we move on to the next. And so that was great, because I could then kind of see the vision and the map in my head. And if I was ahead of schedule, I felt like I could relax. And so I actually built in a schedule of 6 hours of sleep, 6 hours of sleep. Okay, the first night, of course, I didn't do that. I was so ramped up. I was so amped up. We had group chats going with other hackathon participants where we were hyping each other up. We were, people were falling and we were picking them back up, and people were saying, I don't know how to do this. What the heck? Lovable, somebody help me. And we really had this community of people building together. I went into this thinking this was a competition. I was thinking these people are going to be cutthroat. They're not going to be helpful. They're going to say, you're in it on your own, figure it out. And it was the exact opposite. People were loving each other. They were supporting each other. They were saying, oh, you're stuck. Oh, you're getting an error. Here's what you should do. Or here's the quickest way to get an answer from the Lovable dev team. And it was truly incredible. But yes, I had to really build in a schedule and build in phases, because without that, I didn't know, everything was just an open door for me. I needed to be able to see things happen in a systematic way, where I was able to do things in phases, build a feature, pause, build a feature, pause,
Yeah.
and then go to sleep, like Claude told me.
Yeah. And if we go back to the, let's say, last 3 or 4 hours of the hackathon, which are usually the critical, how did that go? Were you still working on the product, or were you just, tying loose ends at this point?
I was in the very final hours when I finally said, okay, this build is good. I can stop here, and the morning, because I had until, it was exactly 48 hours, so I had until 10 a.m. was the actual submission time frame. And
Yeah.
so, when I woke up that last morning, so let's see, Sunday all day, Monday all day, and then Tuesday I had just the morning to submit. So that morning, I kind of just went through the app as if I were a user. I had a good night's sleep, I had a fresh set of eyes, and I went through and I tried to do like one very final polish. And so I went through it as if I were an outside user, and I said, okay, if I'm an outside user, if I've never seen this app before, what's my reaction? What does my gut say? Where should I be clicking? Is anything confusing? And I wanted to give it one final polish. And so those last couple of hours were really just like, can you change the color of this button? Or, whatever it was. Oh, even some ideas that were like, maybe in the future, it'd be really cool to have email notifications at this step and this step and this step. And let's just table that for future features, because they actually made us stop building on it for the week during judging. And so, of course, as I'm doing this cold walkthrough, I'm noticing lots of things that I wanted eventually. And so I kind of used that time to do a very final polish, a very final emergency friends, anybody who's available, can you please click through this and just see what happens and give me your gut instinct. And of course, I was never 100% satisfied. I still went on later to build a lot and change a lot. But that little final polish, I think, gave me a lot of kind of like little edits that helped the flow, and I wasn't able to see when I had tunnel vision, when I was in the build itself. And so kind of getting a good night's sleep, waking up, having a couple hours before hitting that final submission button, did give me some time to give that very final polish.
Yeah. How did you feel when it was time to submit? Well, like you're looking at the times like, okay, it's now or never. How did that feel?
I did this submission. I did the actual submission materials pretty early. This hackathon did not require a demo video, which was interesting because initially I thought to myself, okay, that's interesting. I totally expected some sort of Loom or some sort of recorded Zoom video where I'm doing a demo. And I think a lot of people were dreading it because they're, they've got no sleep, they're running on fumes, and they don't want to be on camera. And, but I kind of thought the opposite. I kind of thought, well, wait a minute, that was my opportunity to really put a narrative to my demo, to really explain how it's intended to be used. And I felt a little bit like I'm giving them the link and walking away. What do you mean? It's in their hands now. So I really felt a sort of like loss of control. But I prepared the submission materials far ahead of time because I didn't need the fully built app to submit. I needed the set of questions. I needed the link with the demo login, but that's all I needed. And so I was able to build that early on. And so when the time came, I was ready to submit. And I think that was probably maybe a unique feature of this hackathon specifically, not requiring a demo video, because I think a lot of people maybe panic at the end of a hackathon because they've got to quickly throw together a demo video when they are running on fumes and they are, not their best self. So, so that's kind of how it went for me.
Yeah. Demo video that is often unfortunately recorded at the last hour is the hardest part you can do in a hackathon. So I totally get that, but it's also a good way to explain the app and why it exists. But okay, so now you've finished the hackathon and you just have to wait, I guess, for Lovable to go through their process and wait for the results. So
one of the great things about this experience was early on, there's another participant named Nicole who I very much hope you meet one day. She's an incredible force, but she's really a community gal. She's a magnet, and she reached out early and said to me and a couple of other folks, do you want to get on a group chat together? Just so we can learn about what other people are building. We can learn about other people's projects. We can learn about where we come from, what tools we're going to be using, how we're prepping. Maybe we can offer some mutual support. And right away I said, yes, please. I don't know anybody. I barely knew what Lovable was a week ago. I would love that so much. How can I help? How can I be your partner? And so she and I really kind of took the lead in forming this community of, we had a WhatsApp, we still have the WhatsApp chat of about 40 people or so. And at one point, I built out like a Notion kind of landing dashboard to centralize all of the different tools and information that people were sharing. And so, where was I going with this? What was your original question? I'm waiting. Yeah. We're waiting.
Yeah.
So as we're waiting for the results, the WhatsApp is just going off the rails. I mean, people are like, when are we going to find out? Does anybody know what time? Are we going to have an announcement? Are we going to have like an awards ceremony? I said, yes, I want to have an Oscar party. Like, can we please and we're all rooting for each other and we're all thinking, oh, I wonder if it's going to be this person who wins, or, oh, I wonder if, because there are all kinds of builders in the room. There were all kinds of people. There were the extreme introverts who were like, they didn't say a peep. They were just there to kind of see what other people were doing and talking about. And then there were the real extroverts like Nicole, like myself, who were, asking, does anyone need help? Are you stuck? How can I help you? I got some time. I just finished. Let me do a demo of yours. And so we're all waiting and we're all hyping each other up and we're saying, oh, I wonder who's going to win. I wonder who's going to win. And I think that was a real bonding moment because there were so many emotions in the group of, oh, I'm so afraid. I feel like I messed this up. And, oh, I just had to submit it in a rush. And I don't know if I did it correctly. And, oh, I think I missed the deadline. And, oh, somebody, the site crashed on me while I was mid-submit. What do I do? And, 5 of us, were like, oh, if Lovable doesn't let you in, I'm going to go after them and I'm going to raise hell. So we did, there were a couple people who really got stuck, and they did make it through. So we were very happy. Yeah. And yes, waiting, on the edge of our seats for, let's see, we found out that the hackathon ended on Tuesday. So it was 1 week. We learned on Monday. We were told Monday. We weren't told a
Yeah.
time on Monday when we were going to hear back, but we were told Monday the results will be released. And Lovable has this Discord channel that they set up a couple of different topic channels, one of them being, of course, this hackathon specifically.
Yeah.
And so the Discord was getting hammered, like, what time? When, can I still make an edit? And, so everybody was panicking. There was panic, there was excitement, there was joy, there was pride, there was fear, there was all of the above emotions. And so it was a hard week, and that's really when we sort of leaned on each other for support and reassurance.
Yeah. And then you got the results. And what was your result?
So we got the results. I believe the winners were announced earlier than the rest of the community, because one of the great things was Lovable actually provided detailed feedback, and that was great. As well as during the build, we could go into the Discord and we could say, hey, does anyone have a marketing background? Could you look at this and see what you think? How can I do this better? And that was amazing to have live feedback. But then we also had feedback at the very, very end in the submission portal, where Lovable came back and said, your app is, does it meet the criteria? Is it user friendly? Are there clear call to action buttons? Does it really solve the problem that you originally identified? Is it accessible? All of the other criteria that they used. And then that was the basis for the feedback. So the feedback was, a couple of paragraphs of, love this is a great app, didn't love this part, didn't love this part.
Yeah. So you got a lot of feedback from people. After the hackathon, you said you have edited the app since. Is a lot of the feedback you got from during the hackathon, from the community and Lovable itself, these are the things that you implemented afterwards then?
Yes. So the audience that I initially identified as someone like me, a busy woman, a working mother, maybe someone who feels like they don't have enough me time, enough friend time, enough of an identity of my own outside of being a mother, outside of being an employee. I love books. I use books to go into another world temporarily outside of my own, that I then use to reflect on my own experiences. I love books because they really scratch a part of my brain that I can't get. It's a form of my own therapy, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I love books. The audience that I imagined was kind of those regular everyday users. What I was getting from the Lovable community and this WhatsApp group and these fellow builders was all kinds of different people from all kinds of backgrounds, people who wanted to do virtual clubs, people who wanted in-person clubs, but maybe not at their homes. They didn't have the space. They live in a tiny New York apartment, whatever it was. People with marketing experience, people with engineering experience, people with all kinds of different skills that were not necessarily intended as being my original audience. And so those additional perspectives were so valuable. And even if they didn't read, even if they didn't love books as much as I did, I really valued their opinions because they gave me insight that I wouldn't have gotten if I had just done a beta launch and had my friends join and test it for me.
Yeah.
And so one of the feedback items I got right away, and I can't believe this happened to me because one of my best friends who I hosted a book club with. Shout out to you, Kimmy, if you're listening. She's a product ops manager, and she tested my app, and we looked at it together. And of course, I looked at it with maybe 4 or 5 people during the build. And one of the pieces of feedback that I got that none of us caught was I didn't have a landing page. I didn't have a home page. I had a very beautiful intro page with an animated graphic that was just screamed sophistication. And it felt like a really beautiful old library, and it felt like a cozy fireplace, and it felt like something I had to be a part of this intimate club and click through to the sign-in page. Boom, I was locked.
Yeah.
So the feedback I got was I don't have a landing page. And I thought to myself, oh my God, are you kidding me? How did I not do that? Because the very first thing when you go to a website, you go in and you say, what is this product? What does it do?
Yeah.
What is the problem? What does it solve? How much is it? And none of that was on there. And it was just a landing page that said log in. And so I did not win. I got an honorable mention. And one of the feedback, the most glaring, obvious feedback that I got was, you don't have a landing page. And I said, okay. Well, and so after I got up off the floor, after I kept reading the email that said, you didn't win, but you got an honorable mention, because immediately I opened it and it said, you didn't win. Here are the winners. And I thought, oh, good for them. Okay. And so I went back and I read the detailed feedback, and then I moped a bit. And then other people were in the WhatsApp group were going, you got an honorable mention. That's a big deal. And I said, oh, I did. I was busy crying. Didn't even notice. So the feedback that I got, that was so helpful, beyond helpful. I mean, it's really easy to get tunnel vision when you're in the middle of a build. It's really easy to not zoom out and say, I don't have the most basic piece of my website. And so I was really kicking myself after that. And of course, that was the first thing that I fixed. And so, you still see the beautiful landing page, but now you scroll and then you see this is what the club is for. This is the problem. This is how it works. And would you like to be a founding member? So it is in beta mode right now. I do have 50 founding member spots. And this is great timing to be interviewing, doing this podcast, because I am trying to recruit some founding member clubs before August 1st. So.
Awesome. So now that you mention it, where people can find your app?
Yes. So right now it is a web-based app. It is at swansociety.app. And eventually I'd of course love to have a mobile app. But at the moment, while we're in beta, it is that web-based app, and you can find it there. I will also be sharing quite a bit on my personal Substack about building in public, about the experience, about the community that I've built. And I'm excited to share the journey more. And hopefully you'll see more. I'll post on Instagram as well, kind of about the build itself, the woman behind the app, how I got here, and I hope everybody enjoys following along.
Yeah, I bet. And what is next for Christina?
For me, I'm looking to find, so as I kind of transitioned into this AI era, I'm learning that a lot of organizations, a lot of companies, including startups, especially startups who are trying to operate very lean trying to be scrappy, trying to do a lot with very few resources, AI is very important.
Yeah.
And AI can really move the needle for early stage startups. And it can really help with automations, with being a force multiplier with a very limited staff. And so my next move is to, and I'm taking my time doing this because I really want to find a great mutual fit, but it's kind of made me change my perspective on my career trajectory because I really now see myself a bit more as a generalist, as somebody who has proven to take new tools to learn about brand new skills that are scary and intimidating, take them and learn them and use them and build something. And I've proven that I can do that. And so in my next role, I really am looking at a more of a generalist type of ops role where I can use AI, where I can use all of these varied skills, my finance skills, my people skills, my tool obsessed brain to really find a new startup that I can help build from scratch, but this time using AI.
Yeah. I think in early on you said you were not technical and didn't know what MCP was. And how would you rate yourself now after going through the experience and building the app? How technical would you say you are?
I would say that I am certainly much more, even before this, I am certainly much more technical than a lot of people my age. I know that's a generalization, so I'm sorry to insult anybody who's also my age, but I do have the limitations of my own experience and my own career path, and the majority of my technical experience is in fintech, is in finance, and the coding world is completely foreign to me, and that's a whole other kind of specific subset of technology that I was never exposed to. And so I would say that I was very technical to start, in terms of the learning curve has always been pretty short for me. I've always been able to latch onto a new technology and learn it if I set my mind to it. Coding is one of those things that it's a completely different language that you can really, I guess there's a higher barrier of entry, right? It's not in plain language. It is another language entirely. And so I would say that coming out of this, I am far more technical than I was when I started. A lot of it is that I now understand how a lot of coding systems interact with each other. I did not learn about the code itself. I did not learn coding language, and I don't think I ever will. But I think that's the amazing thing about this experience is I don't need to learn the code. I have a translator. I have tools, and I can do it in plain language. So it's really, really cool.
It is. I totally agree. I think once you build your first app and you realize, like, I could actually build this, it really changes something in the brain, and it's like the mind goes into what else can I build, almost. So what do you think? Are you going to continue building the Swan Society, or are you thinking about maybe something else, or what's your app plan?
I would love to keep building. I certainly am going to I'm going to learn a lot from this beta launch. I hope to have that open for a couple of months so that people really get the full, at least one cycle of their book club operations going, and are able to see that actual rotation mechanism. So I think for beta mode, it'll be there for a couple of months, but eventually, yes, I would really love to launch it fully and have real life users. And I hope to be able to bootstrap it. So that's my goal. In terms of building other apps and other tools, I would love to. I have not come across any major ideas there of a dream app that I have next. I will say that in addition to looking for another full-time role at a startup, we are some of the alumni are planning on forming a women's collective for AI learning opportunities, for community building, and other people that are interested in doing something like She Builds that we did, and act as mentors for other people in the community. So I'm excited to see how that shapes out, and then also for the full app to launch, and maybe, who knows, I'll build something else soon.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I saw your post. I think it was that you got the honorary mention. You posted on LinkedIn, and that's how I connected with you originally. I think hackathons are amazing, and what you built in 48 hours is truly it's a great app. I did go dig into there, and it's truly, I think, life changing for many. And I know the community in Lovable is amazing, so it's a great achievement for you to, keep and go forward. And whatever comes next, it's a springboard for the next thing. That is a wrap for today's episode. Huge thanks to Christina for sharing her story. If your book club isn't as great as it could be and you could use an app that helps you manage the book club, find Christina's app at swansociety.app. I'll leave a link to the website and the landing page in the show notes as well. And Christina said something very important in this podcast. She was able to build very, very quickly, but not because Lovable was amazing. Lovable is absolutely amazing. But she was able to build so quickly because she spent weeks preparing what she would be building. And that, I think, is the key here. The planning process you do before you hit Lovable or write a line of code or anything is all about what the app is, who is it for, and what problem does it solve. Christina spent most of her time doing that and only a few hours actually executing. And preparation is not the opposite of speed, but preparation allows you to build really, really fast. If you loved hearing how Christina built her app in Lovable, there's other Lovable builders coming along as well, along with cursor builders, Claude builders, and anything and everything in between. So in the meantime, keep shipping.